So raise your hand if you've seen this face before. We were just joking a couple minutes ago that, Jeff and I, we should just start shows together because I think we're on each other's shows more than anybody else. I mean, we work together quite a bit, but we get the privilege of finally meeting Catherine. How are you doing, Catherine?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. And Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. I can't help but notice you kind of breezed over me there for a minute, but I know we're so used to it now. It's all right. That's good.
Oh no, I did that on purpose. Like I said, we're old hat.
It's all good. Yeah, it's good to see you again, Zach.
Yeah, we're old hat. You two have started something very special. You guys have started something that we're going to take and we're going to talk a little bit about, and we're going to try to get the community pay it forward family involved with what you're doing.
Nice.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the university?
Yeah, so Invisible Condition University. It's not supposed to be a tongue twister.
See why we went with Catherine first?
Right.
He's got this.
Come on, I got this. So honestly, Invisible Condition University is something that we kind of wish we had about 10 years ago. Because about 10 years ago, a little like 11, in 2013 is when I started having surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery. And Catherine, like, I had never had surgeries up until then. Like, we had been married 14 years at that point, and she knew that I had this condition, this hydrocephalus thing that, okay, whatever, we've never really had to deal with it. And then all of a sudden, surgery. It's like, what do we do with that? And so this is ICU is something we wish we would have had back about 10 or 11 years ago, because every time I had to go under for surgery, Catherine and the kids were basically left on their own. I mean, the hospital is there for very specific things. They're not there for, really for that kind of help. And so that's why we created Invisible Condition University, or ICU for short. We wanted to provide a place for people that, like us, like you, that could, have a community that listens and cares and walks with you and actually, gets in there with you when you're dealing with this stuff, no matter what you're going through. And so that is kind of the idea behind it. And we meet on Zoom twice a month on the first and third Tuesday of every month. And for about an hour, we'll start with an hour. And if we need to go longer, we go longer. Kind of like you. If we go longer, we go longer, whatever. And so patients, caregivers, relatives, sisters, brothers, moms, dads, everybody's welcome. Ask questions, vent frustrations, find information that maybe, I don't know, your provider didn't give you. I know that doesn't happen usually, but we're just gonna we won't dwell on that. But we have amassed such a huge catalog of information over the last 10, 12 years between surgeries, trial and error, being an advocate for yourself and fighting through this stuff to see what works and what doesn't. Not to mention all the guests we've had on our show over the last almost year and a half that have contributed to that giant growing list of resources. So we want to share. And so go to invisibleconditionuniversity.com. No, you could go there. That's the address that we usually send people to. On this show, we're going to send you to myfreegiftfromjeff.com. myfreegiftfromjeff.com. That will basically do the same thing as the other one, but it'll give you your first month for free.
And as you can see around us, you're going to see a QR code. Please go on ahead and utilize that QR code. Yeah. And that sends you there, correct?
Yes, the QR code will send you directly to myfreegiftfromjeff.com, and it'll be very obvious and very simple to take advantage of that free first 30 days and come to a couple gatherings and see how you like it and go from there.
And so to tack on to what he was talking about, so as you can tell, university is not really in the traditional sense of, an accredited higher, institution of higher learning, and, with degrees and all this stuff. Sorry, we're not giving out degrees.
No.
But we were trying to play on the words of, learning together, coming together as a community with people who have, maybe done some things that have been successful, done it, ahead of you, and can now share that information with you and with the community. And, if you watching and listening, if you've had, some good experiences with resources or facilities or, whatever.
Therapies or
Treatments.
yeah,
Therapies,
treatments, therapy. Yeah.
modalities, please bring them and come and share. We want this to be a collaborative environment, both in every direction.
Yeah.
I hate sounding like a broken record, but I think that you two would agree with this right here, that this is one of those situations where people can open up and people can really tell, as if we can get people to start talking about a situation and about what is blocking them, or what is really making their lives a little bit harder. If they start talking about this and opening up about that, if we have enough people who are saying, hey, have you tried? I
Yeah.
was in a situation that was very similar to this.
Mhm.
You know what worked for me? This is something that person can possibly sneak around that wall, and they can approach another situation that the next person is struggling with. And this is a way that you can take and you can open up a vast pathway to recovery and to making lives so much easier for each other just by communicating, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and it's making life easier for, I mean, we're no doctor. I'm no doctor. I'm no, we're not medical professionals, but we know, we know what has worked for, like, I know what's worked for me and I know what hasn't, but it's kind of like a buffet, right? If you were going to open a restaurant that was going to have a buffet, you would put everything there, whether you liked it or not, whether it worked for you or not, because it's not about you. It's about everybody else that's coming to join you at that place. And so that's what we're doing. There are certain things that we tried over the years that actually made my condition worse, but for somebody else, it might snap them right out of it and they're good to go. So I'm going to offer all of it because I'm only one person. Everybody else is here too. So, yeah.
Well, Catherine, let me ask you this, okay? While you were sitting there attempting to be a mother, attempting to be a wife, attempting to keep your family, your family situation going, if somebody were to walk up to you and say, "Hey, you know what? Have you guys, tried?" We'll just go with CBD products. I'm just going to say CBD products just to put it out there because, maybe this isn't something that originally you would have been drawn to. But if they come up to you and they say, you know what, this really worked for me. Have you considered doing this? Even if you chose not to go that route, would that be something that would help you and give you a different something to think about?
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And there have been multiple times where we have received suggestions, to try this or try that or try, and I think for the most part, we definitely appreciate the suggestions. It,
Mhm.
like you said, it absolutely, it opens the mind to think about other possibilities, other options, you know, uh, maybe if it's not that particular product, maybe it's something similar. And so, yeah, I have always been appreciative of the suggestions because there's been multiple times where I've looked at my strong, capable husband, collapsed on the couch because of, a migraine or because of headaches or because of just mental fatigue.
Mhm.
And I think to myself, what can I do? What options are there? What resources are there? Somebody please, like, what do I do? How do I help him? And so I've, there's been lots of times where I feel like I've just like racked my brain, like, what other possibilities are there? And so to have a central place of resources, I think would be, I would have been thrilled,
Right.
Yeah.
years ago to have been able to have connect with that sort of
Or
resource.
or even if they didn't have a resource that you ended up using, you would have been in a community that could relate. You would have been
Mhm.
talking to people that get it and that care about you, because only on the even if it's only on the one premise that you've been through it and so have I, and so we automatically relate. And so even just being in that environment could be helpful, even if they don't get any tangible thing out of it that they use that day. Just knowing that they're part of that community is a big deal sometimes too. So
And going off that comment, let's be honest here, Jeff, Catherine, what did you guys do when there was something that wasn't out there that you wish was there? You guys started a 501(c)(3) and you went to there. If you can put together ideas of people who are going through this, this is something that maybe somebody can take the combined ideas and they can run with it and they can do something with it and they can find support for
mhm,
even more people. Uh, this is a way to put ideas together in that, using that major word with which is support. Um,
yeah.
Catherine, I wanted to just let you know, Jeff and I have talked quite often because Jeff and I both have that. We both have that distinction. I would like to say honor, but it's no honor whatsoever. Where, you know, he'll be in a place where functioning's not it's not going to happen. Functioning just is not, it's not in the cards for that day. And he'll be laying on the couch and he won't understand what he needs, but you'll walk up to him and you'll give him a pillow and you'll, a cold compress, whatever it is. And you'll help him out. And I've watched Jeff as he's talked about this to where he's almost got tears in his eyes because he knows how difficult that can be for you, that, you at that point in time are the caregiver that's got to take in, well, I've got this to do, I got this to do, I got this to do, but I need to take care of my husband. And I completely understand what he's talking about because I've got people in my life who have to do that too. I'll be at a point in time where I can't. The other day, I was sitting in this chair and I couldn't see out of my right eye.
Ugh,
Everything was a blur. Everything was a blur. And I didn't know whether I was having a stroke. I didn't know whether I was just, stressed. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have a single light on in my office because I just I couldn't focus and I couldn't talk to people without, without it feeling like people were yelling at me.
yeah.
My wife was sitting there trying to figure out what we can do to help me. So, what is all this coming to ask you the question, Catherine? What was your first thought when that happened? What was your, when you were approached with that situation the first time, what was your first thought? How difficult was it? And I know that we're probably reaching way back here, but what was the first thing that you were thinking of when that happened?
When I first started seeing,
That he needed you and you had no idea what to do.
Let's say in what was it, August of 2013, when I ended up having to take an ambulance ride to the hospital and ended up finding out what it was, but we didn't have a clue what it was at first. So yeah, I'm in an ambulance going to the hospital and she's following behind me in the car. Yeah.
well, yeah, that was one particular scenario that fortunately was unique. We didn't have a ton of those.
Mhm. Yeah, or
Um,
14. I mean, we got some to choose
yeah.
from.
Yeah.
We got a couple to choose from.
I think, it's an excellent question. And I think some of the first times that I would see him, um, I'll just call it kind of a physical collapse, because of I'm for Jeff's case, I believe it's a lot of, I think stress tends to make things
Mm-hmm.
tends to overwhelm his brain more, and so that's when I see physically, from the outside, physically what I see is him shutting down, you know, even just literally, like sitting on the floor, laying on the floor. And yeah, the first times that it happened, I was I was at a loss almost. I was like, I don't know what's happening. And so I would try to ask questions, like, can you tell me what you need? Articulate what can you just even articulate what's happening, in your brain, in your body? And most of the time I did not get much of a response at all. And so I didn't know what to do with that at first. And
Well, part of it was because I didn't know what was going on sometimes. So I would sometimes it was because it was mental overwhelm to the point that I would have an absence seizure or something, or I would, just collapse. My body would just give out and I would be on the floor and I wouldn't know what's happening. And I would, and so I would just lay there and sometimes it would look like I was, convulsing or twitching or what. I mean, it was like, what in the world is happening right now? And I didn't even know. So I couldn't, she was asking,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what to, I didn't know what to tell her either. So,
I go into these situations where I feel like somebody's taken an ice pick and going through the top of my head.
yep.
And
Yeah.
and Adrian will ask me, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like,
Yep.
I'm frozen in this,
Yep.
I'm frozen in this position.
Hmm.
And usually I'm doing like it almost sounds like I'm doing like a yoga chant or whatever that is,
Yeah.
oh, and I'm like that. And it's taken a while, but she understands that I'm not answering her right at that moment. I am physically unable
Yep.
to answer her because it is excruciating.
Mm.
That pain is it's you know
Yeah.
it's
like
just
no other.
yeah, and I mean, I understand that for somebody who doesn't one deal with it, but and it can't be explained because head injuries are different for everyone.
Yeah.
And look, let's be honest here. Let's put our cards out on the table. For a normal healthy brain, stress is going to turn that brain into pudding. Okay, so adding the damages to that brain, just make yeah, it really puts that brain in a dangerous spot.
Yeah.
So you as a caretaker, you're like going, he can't tell me what he needs. I have to try to figure this out. What the hell am I going to do with this?
Right. Yeah.
So, what
Yeah.
would, yeah, please go on ahead.
Well, and so you're absolutely right. There were plenty of times where I would try asking, I would get nothing. And so the best that I knew to do at the time was to make him comfortable wherever he was, right? Get him a pillow, get him, maybe a blanket, or, make him comfortable wherever he was. And I would try not to move in, try not to disturb him, because my thinking was the more I can kind of remove stimulus that can allow his brain to calm,
Mhm.
and then he hopefully will be able to, kind of come back to me and explain, wow, that was really painful, but it's past now, and so it feels like it's not really extraordinary, but it was, it was all that I could do, all that I could think to do at the time. So,
Well, it's kind of like the ultimate game of trial and error, because you're
Yeah.
you know I'm going through this, and my head feels like it's wearing a swimming cap that's about 4 sizes too small, or whatever the description is that day. And you can't, and Zach, you get this, you can't tell them in the moment, because you can't even talk, you can't, nothing, no sound is coming out, because all you can do, your whole body is just clenched, and you can't do anything in that state. And so after the fact, after you wake up from passing out, or whenever it makes sense after the fact, that's what I really appreciate that Catherine did, which was like, okay, what happened there, and what would work better next time? Because if it happens again, I don't want to be caught unprepared. So we would talk about it and say, okay, next time that happens, you did this, was perfect. Maybe do this next time too, and then, over time, trial and error, we have figured out a really good system of, okay, if that happens again, this is what we do. So,
And see, for people who are going through a similar situation, exactly what we just talked about right there. That's the way that most of these nonprofits and these organizations like Invisible Condition University, that's why these are built. It's because of trial and error. It's because, hey, you know what? We knew nothing when this started, and we knew after we found a few things, there was a lot more to learn. But there are people out there who are sitting there where we were that are just wondering, God, what am I doing? Because it's a
yeah,
hopeless feeling a lot of times. I know, one of the conditions that I have to go with, where I feel terrible for my wife, is because she'll be asking me a question, and I lost a hearing in my right ear. And when my head turns to pudding, when it goes into that situation where it shuts off, I have static in my deaf ear that will drown out everything else in my life,
yeah,
where I can't hear anything over this deaf ear. My
jeez,
deaf ear becomes so loud that it overtakes. You can come over and yell in my good ear, and I couldn't hear you because of this. You
yeah,
know, um, and so there's times that she'll ask me questions, I won't even hear her.
yeah,
And
been there,
so, and yeah, so it's kind of like
yeah,
it is. It's kind of, it's those situations where she's asking me questions, and I look like a jerk because I'm not answering her. But first off, I can't answer her, physically can't answer her, or
yeah,
I didn't hear, or I didn't understand the question.
yeah,
You know, there's
yeah.
so many of these.
I
And
can relate to that, man. I'm not deaf in an ear, but when the pressure gets bad enough, that the ringing and the white noise and everything gets loud enough, it's the same. It's very similar, where, I'm not saying there, nothing is making a noise. There's not a chainsaw going. There's not some kind of external noise. It's all in here, but it's so deafening that you can't hear anything outside of your own head. So yeah,
it-
yeah,
it's almost like when you're going through an altitude change, and you get that,
yeah,
yeah, and you gotta pop your ear.
yeah,
There are times that it's like that, but it's like that, 120 fold. I mean, it's
right,
just like
yeah,
there's a balloon inside a constricted area, and it feels
yep,
like it's starting to come out the ears, and it's really
yeah.
not a comfortable situation.
Not really.
Catherine, what is the first thing that that you suggest to a wife who's going through, or a husband, let's,
Sure.
a wife or a
Feels
husband, what's
both.
the first thing that you would suggest when they find out that they're in a similar situation? What's the first thing that you would suggest that they should do?
You mean in the moment when, like, when
Even in preparation, because they know things are going to be different.
They found out this is coming, or you,
or there is a very serious accident,
Yeah.
right?
right?
Yeah.
I I mean, I'd like to say, come join our community and get connected. But I think also in a more practical way, take some deep breaths.
Yep.
Take some deep breaths. And I think if you, like you said, if you can anticipate something coming, or if you have seen, I'll just call it, kind of a physical meltdown. If you've seen that happen, you know, in that space where they're feeling good and okay, ask, you know,
Mhm.
ask them, ask your the person that you're supporting, you know, how can I support you when I see this? No, right, no, no judgment, no preconceived ideas, but just be open and see if they can, when they're feeling well, see if they can articulate what they might need. Um, and then when you see it, I think, uh, I we personally have shied away from emergency vehicles, ambulances, and ERs, but you know,
If
I
we can help it.
if we can help it, so I'm gonna say do what you got to do. If you feel like this is an emergency situation, then please call an emergency
Yeah.
vehicle. But if it seems like it's something that they just need to relax and calm, my best suggestion is to give them the space to do that without judgment, without if, like we've just talked about, if they're not responding, um, don't be offended. Just let their body process and calm down. And it's so funny because I say calm down, but when I looked at him, from the outside, I was like, it doesn't seem like anything's happening.
He looks calm,
But
but
clearly something is happening because
It, it's it
he's
does
not
a couple
responding.
things.
yeah.
You go through. It's like, it's almost like the 7 stages. You go through. Okay, what's going on? He doesn't look like he's dying, but boy, he sure the hell is acting like he's dying. Is he faking it? What's going on? That's the question that probably keeps popping up. What's going on? And it's okay to ask these questions. It's okay to be a little concerned, but one of the my next question is kind of a twofold question. One, Jeff, for you, what what is something that you, as the one who suffers with a condition,
Mhm.
what can you do to make sure she feels appreciated? What can you do to show her the support and to help her? And this is where my question to you is, take care of yourself. How important is that?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I've been really bad at that over the last 47 years. So I don't I'm
He's getting
terrible.
better.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But I have not been great at that because of a lot of this pain, especially in the last 10 years. When you're in pain, man, it's you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't, it's, and so you're up, you're down, you sleep during the day, you're up all night. It's, and so sometimes it's just hard to take care of yourself. But when you can, yeah, yeah, you get to bed earlier when you're tired. I mean, there was a couple nights ago, I was like, oh man, I'm feeling it. I had a really terrible night of sleep. And then a couple nights later, I was like, oh my God, I got to collapse. So it was like 11 o'clock and I'm in bed, which for me is kind of early. So it was, so, you gotta, sometimes your body forces you to do it, but sometimes it's a conscious effort. And you just say, all right, look, I don't start take care doing this and this and this to take care of myself, it's going to reflect worse on everything between me and Catherine, and it's not going to be good for anybody. So even stuff like keeping things nearby. We talked about this on another show, but some things that help, like, okay, yeah, okay, I'm on the ground and I don't and I'm non-responsive. One thing that works for me might not work for everybody. One thing that works for me, when I would get one of those awful headaches and the stress and the whole body just completely tenses up and it feels like a rubber band that's stretched to its limit and it's waiting to snap, is we found, just kind of on a whim, we're like, well, let's try this. And it works really good. We got a pad on Amazon for like 40 bucks and you plug it in and it vibrates. And it's got heat and stuff too and fancy stuff, but really I just use it for the vibrate part. And it's like a vibrating platform under you. And I put it on the couch and I lay on that with some pillows, put a blanket over me, turn that sucker on, and it knocks me out. And I wake up and I'm a new man. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a reset switch. So those are all things that, but we got to have them at hand, right? So that is right next to the couch right now. It's actually still there. And so make it easy for the people that want to be able to help and take care of you to do that by telling them the tools that you need and putting them in a place where they can use them. Because if they don't know what to do or how to use it, then they can't help you. So yeah.
But Jeff, what can you do for Catherine to make sure that she understands she's appreciated? To make sure that she
Yeah.
understands that, you know what, Catherine, you are always there by my side, immediately taking care of me. What can you do to make sure, or what can we all do to make sure that our caregiver understands, hey, I put you through hell. Allow me to do this for you so you can take care of yourself and you're not burning yourself out.
Right. Yeah. I think part of that is something that I've kind of tried to do even from the beginning of us being married, which is, and it's lucky her, it's stuff I enjoy doing anyway, but cooking and cleaning and doing those kind of things, like preparing meals, preparing stuff ahead of time, like over the weekend, so that during the week it's easier to prepare those meals. So that usually I do most of the meal prep for the week, but if I'm out, right, yeah, hey, so if that's the case, great. We prep on the weekends. I cook during the week, and everything's cool. And so she doesn't usually have to do much in the kitchen as far as cooking. And then if something happens where I'm out of commission, I've tried to make it easy for her to be able to do that without too much fuss. Also, being available, honestly, being available, so that if she's working at a day job and I have a little more free time during a day, I can cart the kids around, or I can do the things that she won't have to necessarily take time out of her schedule to do, and she can get done earlier and then have some time in the evening to spend time with us. So it's I don't know, just being conscious of what you can do.
So I think kind of broad stroke what he's saying is when he's feeling well, I think he makes the most of that time.
Yes. Yes.
And he's given some specific examples of ways that are helpful to me specifically. But I think in general, learn, ask what your caregiver person likes, needs, and when you're feeling well, do what you can. I know nobody wants to, burn out in either respect.
Right.
Yeah.
caregivers are trying not to burn out. You guys are trying not to burn out. And so that collaborative effort to say, I'm feeling well right now. How can I support you? And, and then for me, to say, I see that you're drained. Let me support you. So it's really, kind of attempting to set up that symbiotic, relationship, give and take back
Yep.
and forth. So, because
Does uh, does
I was
that
gonna say he cooks me lunch almost every day, and I love it.
yeah, and I mean, it's not like either of you are obligated to do this. I mean, yeah, there's a contract, there's a marriage contract, but it's not like, you know, that wasn't in your vows. You know?
Yeah,
Well,
no.
I guess maybe it was, not
Sickness and health, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, my in my vows it just said you won't kill me, right? So I mean, but yeah, so but I mean, it's really special. And Jeff, I try to help my wife with the meal prep too. I put the can opener by the spaghettios.
Hey,
So
whatever works, man. It's all right. Hey, I watched my dad as a kid growing up, as young as I can remember. I watched my dad do a lot of the same things for my mom, just meal prep and cooking and baking and all the things. And so I grew up looking at that going, oh yeah, okay, so that's what dads are supposed to do. Okay, cool.
yeah,
And so that was an example. So thank you, Dad. Thank you,
Thank
Dad.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
we
Dad. Father-in-law.
yeah.
so
See,
uh
I used to watch my dad cook every once in a while too. But then again, I also watched my dad burn down our kitchen. So you know,
okay. No,
but
don't do that. No.
yeah, no,
It's not
but
helpful.
Thursdays my wife has my wife has a podcast, so I take over the cooking. Like, tonight I'm going to make chicken parmesan, and
Nice.
it's just I'm the same way
So does
you
Dad.
are. And
No.
then every Sunday, Sunday I take and make a really nice breakfast for everyone, just trying to say, hey, thank you for putting up with my insanity and what I go through as well. But um, let's, what is the goal for Invisible Condition University?
I think, all of these situations that we've touched on today, I think all point to uh the n- I to the need to the I'm trying to think of a good word. um to have that community and that support to be able to talk through exactly these types of situations. I love, Zach, that you're able to be really candid, and vulnerable with, oh my gosh, this is what I experience. And so I think even as, a caregiver, to be able to hear that really honest description helps me remember to say, wow, I am so thankful that my body feels okay, 95% of the time. And, you know, and it just re-energizes that compassion to say, I'm, thank you for sharing that with me. How can I support you and how can I care for you? And so within Invisible Condition University, we want to invite both, caregivers and people going through a situation to come together and, so that we can candidly, openly share these types of, really honest, here's what I experience, on both sides. And
Yeah.
I think, fostering that openness, I think, is huge. It can help support marriages, it can help support all kinds of relationships, it can support health, it can support love and care. And, we can say the other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick too is um, you asked, what can I do to prepare? Well, as as he's going through an acute situation, I'm also thinking, what kind of modalities could help with this? What kind of and so that's the other thing that we'd like to share within Invisible Condition University times is those modalities, those, those really practical, this is what helped, and to minimize
Yeah.
the physical meltdown.
Well, because you don't know what you don't know, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, when you're in the throes of it and you're in the midst of, oh my gosh, what do I do? This guy, he's on the floor. He's non-responsive. I don't know what to do. That's not where you want to start exploring options. That's when I want an answer now. Even if it's something you've never tried before, if you're in that situation and you go, oh, right. Oh, okay. That guy, when we were at ICU last time, this guy said this thing worked. I'm going to try it. And, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but that at least gives you hope. That gives you something to try instead of just sitting there with your hands on your, on your head going, I'm helpless. What do I do? So it gives you something to do, and maybe it'll work. Who knows?
Yeah. And
know?
my suggestion for all of this would be, there's a couple things. First, pay attention to what your doctor does say, because, these are some of the things, and don't be afraid to ask doctors questions that are outside the box. Say, hey, what do I do in different situations? If I understand life's going to be a little bit different, okay? If something happens, what's the best thing to do? And one of the other, and especially with head injuries, what I have seen and in my own experience, one of the best things to do is just make sure that, I get into a safe spot.
Yep.
And then shut stimulus down. Make it the most boring room in the world. Shut lights off, shut TVs, radios, all that. Just shut it off.
Yep.
With us in our house, get the dogs outside. Just whoop, get it away. And then it's amazing how much just that time for the brain to go, oh, thank you.
Exactly.
And those are this is great. I'm loving this. Who are you guys inviting to this program? Is it people with just hydro, or is this?
Oh man, anybody with any condition, anything. I mean, really, anything with any condition, and any caregiver.
Yes, exactly. So we've termed it Invisible Condition University, but that's basically based off of Jeff's show, Invisible Condition, the TV show. But really, it doesn't even have to be invisible.
It could be anything.
Any kind of condition, and the caregivers that love that person with the condition,
Well, and it sounded,
want the support.
Sorry. Yes. And it sounded good when we were trying to come up with what are we going to call this thing. We thought, well, okay, invisible condition. And if for those of you who have seen the show, you might notice in the logo of ICU where there's the little floating head thing. That's actually in the logo of the TV show too. So we kind of wanted a little bit continuity there. But part of the reason we chose Invisible Condition University is because the initials are ICU. And we wanted to kind of play on that. And we wanted it to be a play on words to say, okay, nobody wants to go to the ICU. The ICU sucks. It's not a good place to be. Nobody wants to be there. But what if we could reframe that and say, oh, yeah, ICU. Oh, yeah, we'll see you there on September 17th. What are you going to talk about? And then it's not necessarily this doom and gloom thing. We're going to go somewhere where people are being helpful. And then the other thing that ICU can stand for is I see you. It's you're not invisible. It's not, you are, we see you, we understand what you're trying to accomplish here, and join us and let's talk about it together. So
self-preservation is something that, that's one of the things that you've got to just keep in the back of your mind at all times. You know what? Don't freak out about this, because freaking out's not going to do any good. Remember, there are, there are trained professionals out there that are, if it's a situation you don't feel like you can handle, there's that wonderful 911 number that you can get a hold of. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
That's a
Right.
wonderful number. You guys were talking about not wanting to get into emergency vehicles too much. I think that my family has an ambulance named after us. We call it the Clayton limo.
There you go.
So,
There you
but
go. It's an expensive limo ride, man.
yeah, it is. It's pretty sad when the EMTs walk in the house and they know you by name. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for all of our caregiver friends, look, one of the most important things for you to do, and this is I wish I could emphasize this more, but you have to take care of yourself. You
Yep.
have to find a way to make sure that you are whole. Jeff, you and I have both said it. We both heard it, that, a starving man can't feed others. It's, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to be have that ability
Yeah.
to take care of yourself and to take care of somebody else. So if you get a moment and you just need to go and be alone and cry it out,
Yeah.
do it. Do it. Don't be shamed into not doing it. If that's going to let you blow your mind out, just blow the steam out.
Yep.
Find that place within yourself to where you're like, it's so important.
And I can't emphasize this enough with along that same train of thought. Caregivers, we talk about caregivers coming to ICU. That's actually, even if you can't bring the person you're taking care of with you to ICU, come yourself, because you will probably feel recharged after that. And because we'll be talking about ideas and modalities and things that people are doing that's making life better. And like, you'll probably come out of there skipping, away from the computer, because you're like, oh my gosh, we haven't tried some of this stuff. Maybe this will be, and just the sheer fact that you're in a room full of people that can relate to you is also huge. Just to know that you're in a community that gets it, so.
Yeah. And to your point, Zach, you are absolutely right. The caregivers all need to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So what, and I, Jeff and I recently started a TikTok channel. So
With resistance.
yeah.
I didn't want to, but we did. It's going great. But yeah.
So I think it's just Jeff and Catherine, right?
Yeah, at Jeff and Catherine, all spelled out. JEFFANDCATHERINE. Jeff and Catherine.
Jeff and Catherine.
Yep.
But a lot of what I do talk about on there when I post videos is caring for yourself, because you're absolutely right. That is so key, so important. And so when you have those moments, ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need in this moment? Jeff's good. My kids are good. Let me ask myself, what do I need to value myself in this moment? And, sometimes it's crying. Sometimes it's taking a nap. Sometimes it's going for a walk. Sometimes it's sitting alone in the bathroom, right? Closing the door and, just to get a little solitude. But that's an excellent point is to really take care of yourself, because if I'm drained, if I'm empty, then when he needs me, I'm more cranky and I'm more feeling selfish about it. I have more difficulty approaching him from a place of compassion and care and love. And I'm more like, fix yourself, please. And so,
In-
and
Yeah.
to your point, yes, take care of yourselves.
Put your oxygen mask on first,
Mhm.
right.
or
And,
assist the others.
look, I think that what you guys are what you're talking about on getting caregivers there who might need that little bit of inspiration. Just remember, somebody at one point in time was having difficulty putting their shoes on, and they took a stick and stuck it in the heel, and they made a shoehorn.
Yep.
Okay. And somebody else looked at that and said, "What a great idea." They put a stick in their damn shoe and it made it easier for their life. Okay. This small things that somebody else has done can make your life so much better. And it might be as simple as putting a stick in your shoe.
Yep.
Okay. Not
Mhm.
literally.
Yeah.
Or maybe literally. I don't know.
Complicated. Yeah.
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 I mean, it's amazing what you yourself can come up with just out of necessity. And if you can share that with someone else
Yep.
to improve their life.
Exactly.
Well, to your point, it's not a stick in his shoe, but Jeff's actually taken to doing but tieless, no, what am I trying to say? Self-tying. Self-tying shoelaces. So all he has to do is slip his feet in the shoes. He doesn't have to bend way over because
Yeah.
that can.
I haven't tied a pair of shoes in 12 years, Zach. I haven't. I have had shoes that either have their self-tying thing or they have laces, and I've thrown the laces away and bought self-tying things to put in there so I don't know if I can just slip them on and go.
He doesn't.
So
I think it's so funny that Skechers right now is they've got this big campaign on, never bend over and touch your shoes again. There's some of us that are sitting there going,
been
I
there.
tied my shoes once and they became slip-ons, and I've been doing
Right.
this since I was 15.
Yeah. Where have you been?
I mean, I've been doing this for 45 years. What the
Yeah.
hell are you talking about? This
Exactly.
is
This
a
is
new innovation.
new. Yeah.
It's like bend over, don't bend over. I mean, come on.
Because you know what? It's crazy. Us crazy Hydro warriors, man, we've got a device in our head that's keeping things going. So some of us, not all of us, but some of us have a problem. If you're standing like this and you go to this angle, it can really affect your balance. Some people it doesn't, but
And so to go all the way over to your shoes.
Yeah, sitting there on the edge of the bed and bend all the way over to the ground to tie your shoes, you could end up on the ground. So, do what you can, man. Even little stuff helps. So
my wife more than once has saw me walk out of one room, go to turn the corner, and smack right into the doorway because I just, in between one room and the other, I lost that, half a room past. And
Yep.
It's like my power steering on my body just suddenly gave out and I just smacked into the doorway, and it's like, so, but
exactly.
I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell us anything else before we let you go. Is there anything else that you guys would like to include?
I think the only other thing that I'd love to throw out there is if you love what we're doing, if you align with what we're talking about today, reach out and get in touch with us. Jeff at hydrowithhope.com if you want to talk about anything about the TV show, anything about being a guest, anything about advertising, anything about getting the word out through the TV show or Invisible Condition University. I mean, those are Hydro with Hope. Anything that you're curious about, you're like, we saw you on that show and you were talking about it. You didn't get to talk a lot about everything, but let's have a conversation. I'm all ears. Let's talk about it because I want to get the word out about all this stuff because it's important. So
yeah, there are resources. Let's share them. Let's connect. Let's create a community that really fosters that understanding, support, care, compassion, all the things.
And last but not least, and this is in our journal that's available on hydrowithhope.com, but there's a spot in there. There's a little about Jeff section in there to, talk about me and why we're doing the book and all the things. And there's a little line in there at the end, and it says, "Life does not have to be perfect to be amazing." And I think a lot of people need to remember that, because so many people are saying, "Oh my gosh, okay, now, well, we've got this condition now, and we've got this going on and this going on. Well, life's over." No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's so not.
There's hope.
There's hope.
So
So,
it is amazing to me how sometimes people take a condition and they're like, well, that's it. I can't be who I used to be.
yeah, I'm
No,
out.
you just need to make some adjustments and you'll be fine. Hey, we would like to just real quick take a moment and make sure that everybody that remembers Hydro with Hope is a community pay it forward
Yes.
mission partner. And if you scan this QR code that you see on this little piece of paper here, you visit any of our mission or any of our giving partners. Sorry about that. Any of our giving partners, you make a purchase with them. And turn in your receipt to the form that QR code pulls up. Hydro with Hope gets a portion of your sale. All you have to do is send us the receipt. That's it. We're not asking you to join our cult. You don't have to join my church. By the way, my cult is watching hockey and eating Snickers bars.
Woo!
There's always room for you. Okay, I'm just saying that. But as long as you bring the Snickers bars.
There you go.
I got the hockey. You bring the Snickers bars. So, but so it's not a painful thing.
No.
And I swear to you, we do not want your firstborn child.
No.
So all you have to do is simply shop with our wonderful partners, turn in the receipt, and choose Hydro with Hope, and a portion of your purchase goes back to help these two wonderful people, help other wonderful people who are going through a scary, difficult time, but make it a hell of a lot easier. So,
Yep.
But so once again, you go to myfreegiftfromjeff.com, myfreegiftfromjeff.com.
Yep.
So,
Yes. Awesome.
Catherine, it's great to meet you for the first time. Thank you so very much. Jeff, it's great to meet you for the first time this week.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about something sometime. So
Yeah, exactly.
we're getting close to March again. So God, can you believe that this year's almost done? It's almost March again. That's
I know.
crazy.
That's
So,
that's a good month. I know it feels like it was just last week we did all that in March, with the brain injury awareness stuff. So we're bring it on.
And believe it or not, so far this year we've run into people like Dignified Dementia, which is going to be participating this coming up year, and talking about people with dementia as a brain injury, which is doing something very similar to what you guys are doing, except for it's a little more extensive and a little more geared towards people with dementia, helping them plan and make sure that they remember, schedule out things. So it's a wonderful program. But I mean, we've met all of these other people who are doing such fantastic things to try to help people with brain injuries.
Yeah.
Because they've experienced what we've been talking about on this show. They've had to come to they've had to come into themselves and figure out how to deal with a situation that, it's not perfect, but it doesn't mean life's over.
Right. Exactly.
So, but Jeff and Catherine, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. We'll see you soon. Sure. We'll see you soon.